Imagine a building, 20 stories tall, longer than 3.5 football fields, wide enough to fit a 4-lane highway across its deck. Now, pick it up and put it in the ocean. That's the icon of the seas. At 1,198 feet long and 20 decks high, standing as tall as an 18-story apartment building above the waterline, this thing carries up to 7,600 passengers and 2,350 crew members. That's nearly 10,000 people floating on a single vessel. But here's the question nobody really asks. How do you even build something like this? Because this isn't just a big boat, it's a floating city. And putting it together required engineering so insane. It rewrote the rulebook for what's possible. So, let's get into it. Section 1. The Dream. It starts with years of planning, before a single piece of steel is cut. Most people think building a ship starts in a shipyard. It doesn't. It starts in a room full of architects, engineers, and designers arguing over a vision. The process of building the world's largest ships begins years before any physical construction even starts. Naval architects, acousticians, engineers, and outfitters all work together, not just to define the structure, but to define the experience. For the icon of the seas, Royal Caribbean used a room-sized virtual reality simulator called The Cave, based in Miami, where designers could literally walk through the ship before it existed. They tested everything: sightlines, traffic flow, how sunlight would move through the corridors. Sometimes teams built scale models out of basswood to illustrate structural proposals, or foam core tray models to show how venues would relate to each other vertically. This phase alone took years. Every pool, every water slide, every restaurant, all planned, tested, and retested digitally before anyone picked up a welding torch. Section 2. Cutting steel. The first cut, and why it's such a big deal. Construction officially kicked off in June 2021 with the ceremonial cutting of the first piece of steel, the moment that marks the transition from dream to reality. But this isn't like cutting a ribbon. Shipbuilders are slicing through enormous steel plates using precision laser and plasma cutters, machines that cut metal the way a hot knife cuts butter. These plates are then shaped, curved, and welded into panels. Panels become blocks, and blocks become the ship. Construction begins with thin, long plates that are cut and welded together into panels. These panels are then shaped into blocks that make up the skeleton of the ship, and are then painted and equipped with cables and piping before final assembly. Think of it like building with the world's heaviest Lego bricks, except each brick weighs hundreds of tons and has to align perfectly, or the whole thing is compromised. Section 3. Block assembly. The Lego ship method. Engineering's greatest trick. Here's where it gets wild. The icon wasn't built in one piece, from the bottom up. It was built in giant chunks, simultaneously, across the entire shipyard. Then those chunks were brought together like a massive 3D puzzle. This construction method is known as block assembly, and it required a team of roughly 2,600 people working every single day, with skilled tradespeople brought in from over 20 different countries. Each block wasn't just bare steel either. Workers would fully outfit the blocks before assembly, running electrical cables, installing pipes, painting interiors, while the block was still on the ground. This is so much easier than doing it inside a half-built ship suspended in a dry dock. And when it came time to lift these blocks into place, Northern Europe's largest gantry crane, nicknamed Baby at the Meyer Turku shipyard, lifted a single block of cabins weighing more than 900 tons. The 9-deck, roughly 60-meter-wide block was moved into place in a single day, the largest lift ever performed in Europe. The CEO of the shipyard was asked if that made him nervous. His response: "It's like building a Lego ship." Section 4. The keel, laying the keel, the heartbeat of the ship. Every ship has a moment that sailors and shipbuilders consider sacred. It's called the keel laying, and it's the moment the spine of the ship is placed. Given the immense scale of the icon's keel, a 3,000-ton crane was required just to lift the massive steel block onto the platform that would hold it throughout the entire construction process. Following centuries-old maritime tradition, a commemorative coin was placed directly beneath where the center of the keel would sit. one side showing the completed ship, the other showing the joint logos of the shipyard and Royal Caribbean. Replica coins were later given to the captain and crew before the maiden voyage, a gesture believed to bring good luck to the ship and everyone who sails on her. The keel was officially laid in April 2022, and from that moment, the clock was ticking. The race to assemble a floating city had begun. Section 5. Float out. The moment the ship touches water for the first time. After months of steel, welding, cranes, and chaos, comes one of the most jaw-dropping moments in shipbuilding, the float out. On December 9, 2022, the dry dock was flooded with approximately 58 million gallons of water over several hours, allowing the vessel to slowly rise and be towed to an outfitting berth for interior installation and systems integration. Let that sink in. 58 million gallons of water just to lift the hull out of the dock. But here's the thing. This wasn't a finished ship. This was just the shell. No restaurants, no water slides, no cabins fully fitted out. The float out is like moving into a house that only has its walls and roof. Now, the real interior work begins. Section 6. Fitting out, turning a steel shell into a floating city. After the float out, the Icon was towed to the outfitting berth. And this is where the ship truly comes to life. Thousands of workers poured in to install everything. Restaurants, theaters, swimming pools, water slides, a central park with real trees, a multi-story aquadome made of 673 glass panels, assembled from 12 individual steel and glass modules. Engineers conducted several tests during the design process to ensure the aquadome could work. In total, it has 673 glass panels and was the single largest glass and steel structure ever lifted onto a cruise ship. Every pipe, every wire, every light fitting, installed by hand. By the time construction wrapped up after 900 days, the ship had 7 pools, 6 record-breaking water slides, and more water on board than any ship in history. Section 7. Sea trials and delivery. Does this thing actually work? Before any passenger sets foot on board, the ship has to prove itself. On June 19, 2023, Icon of the Seas sailed for the first of her sea trials, pushing the engines, testing the navigation, stress testing every system on board. She returned to Meyer Turku shortly after for adjustments before final completion. Think of it like a test drive, except the car is 250,000 gross tons and costs over $1 billion. On November 27, 2023, the ship was officially handed over to Royal Caribbean, marking the end of a journey that began with a single cut of steel more than 2 years earlier. So, next time you see a photo of the Icon of the Seas, just remember what it took to build it. Years of planning and VR simulators, thousands of steel plates cut and welded by hand, blocks the size of buildings lifted by the biggest cranes in Europe, 58 million gallons of water just to float the hull, and 2,600 workers from 20 countries working every single day to make it happen. The Icon of the Seas became the first cruise ship in history to surpass 250,000 gross tons. And it didn't happen by accident. It happened because a group of engineers refused to accept that it was impossible. And honestly, that's what makes it so incredible. If you made it this far, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and drop in the comments, would you sail on the world's biggest ship? I'll see you in the next one.